Hearing aids is not equal to earbuds. This happened a few years ago, around the time I was 17. I had just started working at a smallish cafe run by a well-known family in our area. I knew some people who had worked there before and they told me for the most part the owners were great, very chill and laid back when it was slow and normally weren't bad about breathing down the employees' necks. Their oldest daughter, who also helped run everything, was the one who was very peculiar, and we'll call her Karen. I am officially diagnosed with a hearing deficiency, not enough to be considered deaf, but more than hard of hearing, so I wear hearing aids. My first day before we opened, my co-workers asked me if they could do anything else to help me out, and we eventually started talking about the hearing aids in general. While talking about everything, I mentioned they had Bluetooth capabilities so I could play music through them. Not that I would, but I could. Karen had been in the room at the time, and said, "You can't wear those, no earbud policy," and tapped on the policy's paper on the wall. I protested, explaining they're hearing aids and not earbuds, and that I wouldn't be using them to listen to any music while I was working. Her reasoning was I didn't need them because I wasn't considered fully deaf, and I was doing this to get around the no earbud policy, directly quoting when I said they could play music. "I can't wear them?" "Okay, let's see how this goes." Placed them into the case in my bag and started my shift. I couldn't understand my trainer, couldn't hear the customers, couldn't hear when orders were called to be sent out. Things were going extremely slow, a couple of warmed pastries burnt since I wasn't able to hear the timers. Simple sentences had to be repeated multiple times with people basically yelling at me just for me to be able to piece a few words together. I guess the cherry on top was me ignoring one of the owners when she tried speaking to me. Karen came up to me and tried addressing me about it, until she finally realized what was going on after she had repeated herself 5 times. By the end of that shift, I was allowed to wear my hearing aids, no questions asked.
Now to the comments. I think there's a lack of understanding around what it means to be hard of hearing or deaf. My mom is deaf but wears cochlear implants to hear. I think it can be hard for her because people don't know right away that she's using a hearing aid, the cochlear implants, so they don't give her the benefit of the doubt when she has trouble understanding them.
Especially out in the public where there's more people around, talking with other people. I can hear a mosquito in a room at night, but I'm danged in noisy public spaces. I hear, yes, you and everyone around, but I don't understand a thing.
Whenever we had company over, about 45 minutes in, my dad used to say it's so cacophonous in here, and head outside to the deck to smoke his pipe and drink whiskey. That's why I never tell anyone I work with that my hearing aids have Bluetooth. Only my husband and parents know. It's like a fun secret only we know.
And now we all know. I promise not to tell.
LOL, thank you, now we're all in on the secret. Should have told customers, "I'm sorry, I can't hear you because my trainer has forbidden me from wearing my hearing aids at work." Let the customers complain to the manager.
Boss daughter, but that's even better.
That was exactly my thoughts. I mean, I'm super passive and bad with people, but even I would just say, "Hey, I can't understand you because they told me I couldn't use my hearing aids." I would guess at least 80% of customers to go from being annoyed with you to being upset with management, even if they don't care about disabilities, but they are actively being inconvenienced by this and will want to complain to higher ups anyway. This makes me deliciously happy, even if I'm sorry you had to deal with that woman. Being unable to hear complaints after being told you don't need to be able to hear is just such an obvious blunder by Karen here, and you got to rub it in their face without even having to try. LMAO.
Deliciously happy? Karen is fortunate that OP didn't ask a lawyer about this.
Yep, she has zero business or authority to demand how someone uses their medically necessary devices. Disability discrimination. Not sure where in the world you are, but in many places, this would very much be against the law.
Oh, but the malicious compliance was surely way more fun than suing, though suing under the ADA in the USA would likely have been an option if it was a persistent, not just one-time thing. Well played, OP.
Also, it was a great solution if he wanted to mostly duck with Karen and not the chill and laid-back owners. Calling the labor department would have been a much bigger problem for the owners than Karen. Pro tip: be honest with your customers about this shit. A great customer is a weapon you can use to your advantage. They can mother duck the manager/owner into next week, and what's the worst that happens? They get 80-60? I worked some shit service jobs in college, and if the customers felt what we were having to do was bullshit, they quickly made things change. Use this to your advantage.
Yup. My work started forcing my department specifically to take 1HR lunches. This is causing delays with getting documents to the customer, so I started telling the customers, law firms, that the delay was due to this if I couldn't send docs due to being on lunch. No other department in my company is forced to take 1HR lunches, everyone else can take 30 minus IWFH, so a 1HR lunch is ducking pointless for me, so I'm weaponizing the firms that are upset at document delays.
I worked at a gas station and weaponized the owner on my manager, and it was ducking amazing. Almost came in my pants. Background: dated really stupid girl. Instead of riding with parents to a wedding so we could drink, she decides to drive. She was terrible driver. Nearly gets me killed in a head-on with a pickup. I call the boss man and say, hey, got in a crash, I'm pretty beat up and I look horrible. Need a few more days off. Manager screams at me I'm bullshitting and says we'll talk Monday. What he didn't know was my car was at our shop. Our shop was next to the owner's office. I go up to my car and there's owner. He asks what happened and I explain. He asks if I'll be taking time off to recover. Say no, John told me I needed to be back to work that day and was yelled at for faking. Jack tells me yeah, that's not gonna happen. I go to the store to get my paycheck, pre-direct deposit days, and the manager isn't there. I hang out, and keep in mind I look bad. Black eyes, lacerations, I'm in rough shape. Manager walks in and goes, so I got a call. You can take as much time off as you need, just let us know. I found out later the owner, who never swore, mother ducked him up and down the block. For the next year I was left on a long leash because of it. TLDR, nearly killed. Boss accused me of faking. His boss's boss gave him a come to Jesus of biblical proportion. Literally the same exact thing happened to me. I worked for a summer camp that didn't allow counselors to hang onto their phones during the week. My hearing aids connected to my phone so I can adjust the different settings and crap, so I got permission from the camp director to keep my phone during the week. The counselor lead however went on a power trip and told me that I had to turn my phone in. I cited the ADA codes but he wouldn't budge. I turned in my phone for the day, then snuck into the main office and stole it back and went to the camp director and told him what happened. The guy got fired by the end of the summer. He was pretty incompetent.
I've also dealt with idiots refusing to believe phones can be medical devices. I had a professor at university who tried to insist that we put our bags into a locker for his 4-hour seminar. I use my phone to monitor my sugar levels. I ended up just shoving it down my pants and hiding it.
Cardiac patient here. I would have put mine right on the desk in front of me. My phone has a heartbeat monitor app. I get my Fitbit reports on it. It's a medical device. For that reason I dare anyone to get in between me and my phone. I'll call my heart surgeon first. Then I'll call Saul. If you were totally deaf, hearing aids would be worthless to you. Plus this is a massive ADA violation. My wife has a similar issue and was prescribed hearing aids. She got Bluetooth capable ones because they came with a remote mic. she could give to her college prof during lectures and whatnot. I got a chuckle at Karen stating you're wearing what was in my wife's case $8,000 hearing aids just for the purpose of getting around the no earbuds policy. Glad you were able to take it in stride and hope the customers didn't give you any grief.